Hey, piece of shit. You just had to go and ruin Freckles' channel by more than doubling her subscribers and adding over 15,000 views to her last video. Well, that's just fucking great. Thanks to you, her channel's broken. So now, for the rest of the week, you're stuck with me. That's right. For the next 7 days, you get to sit here and listen to a dumbass 7-part soulmate AU fanfic starring me. And you better like it too, you little piece of shit. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Leave them in the comments for me, and I'll answer them never! Now shut up and enjoy the fanfic. You have all but a few memories of your parents. In the farthest reaches of your mind, you can just barely grasp onto an echo of when you were very young. You can see both of your parents smiling at each other, love so evident in their eyes that you can feel it where you sat, watching them. They looked like they were a match made in heaven, which was all too true, as they were soulmates. Everyone has a soulmate, but only so many people are fortunate enough to meet their other half. Those who have been blessed enough to cross paths with their divinely given partner describe the first encounter as a sudden stillness. Then, the sound of bells chiming off in some direction with which you cannot hope to pinpoint. After that, there's a rush of emotions that hit you like a freight train and swallow you whole. Once the stillness comes to an end and the world finally resumes, you're both left with the mark that is permanently etched onto your skin as a symbol of the heavenly event that had taken place. The mark is unique to each pair of soulmates. You can remember the shape of your parents' mark. It was uncomplicated and lovely, which, by no coincidence, are the perfect words to describe the relationship with your parents. Black ink nestled itself softly onto the inside of their left index fingers, forming a small spiral design. You vividly remember the strong arms of your parents wrapping around your young cherubic body. They were hugging you, as they were about to depart for a mission that would take a few days. The one part of their job as professional heroes they seemed to dislike most was leaving you behind when their work demanded that it take precedence over their child. The hug lasted for several moments, and throughout, they whispered soft little nothings into your ear to help calm your emotions. You were upset that they would be away for so long. When they released you from their hold, your father grasped your shoulders and looked into your eyes, promising to be back as soon as possible. Unbeknownst to you, that would be the last time you ever saw your parents again. The last memory you have regarding your parents is the devastation that followed at the announcement of their death. You remember the cold, icy fingers of sorrow climbing their way up your body, starting at your toes and slowly wrapping around your entire body. This feeling sat with you for a long time, and you so dearly wished for it to disappear. Eventually, it did. And in its place was a dull, numb feeling of utter loneliness, and you weren't sure which was worse. You quickly learned that it's better to keep people at a distance, to never get too close and never share too much. To reveal all the little bits of yourself to someone means to submit yourself to the possibility of being left behind and to the anguish that will inevitably follow. So, you draw a line in the sand. On one end is you, and all the little things that make up the person you are. On the other end is everyone else. Neither side should dare cross that line, lest the repercussions that may follow. Primary and middle school pass you as mundane and quiet years, just as you like it. When presented with following in your parents' steps and becoming a hero, or becoming a faceless ordinary person with the rest of society like the cautious and worrisome parts of you desire, you instead come to a compromise. You become part of the support hero program. The following months pass peacefully, and you spend the hours you're not inside a classroom working away at the various parts you have lying around in your UA-provided workshop. No one crosses your line, and you don't pass over your fictitious border. You're known to your peers as sweet and polite, but strangely reserved, just as you like it. When the temperature starts to dip below 0 degrees, and the wind begins to nip at your cheeks, you can't help but feel miffed. You dislike feeling cold. The gelid air stiffens your fingers and disrupts your workflow, while also reminding you too much of the cold clench of destitute loneliness that you were much too familiar with. You long for warmth again. Bakugo Katsuki fucking hates winter. The freezing air fucks with his heat-dependent quirk, and now he needs to make changes to his hero costume. After he spent all that time before he had started at UA designing it, he now has to have someone come and mess with it. In the event that they screw with his suit and make him look ridiculous, he'd have to kick that moron's ass, which he didn't have the time to be doing. And on top of that all, he was lost. Shit. He crumbled a small piece of paper in his fist. His dumbass teacher didn't give him any directions, and this dumbass school was unnecessarily large, and it all felt like a giant waste of time. Still fuming, he unclenched his fist and rolled out the now wrinkled post-it. Bakugo roamed the halls, a fiery human-sized ball of rage, for another 10 minutes, in search of the workshop belonging to the damn nerd that was supposed to screw with his costume. Upon finally spotting the door place card that held the same combinations of numbers and letters to the ones on a sticky note, he stomped over to it. With all the pent-up frustrations he had acquired on the journey here, he threw open the overly large door. Why the fuck is this place so damn hard to find? The once still and serene aura of your peaceful shop came to a screeching halt as the door to your room was slammed open, coming to a frighteningly large crash against its jamb, followed by a spine-chilling howl of expletives. Quickly moving to face the angry intruder, your gaze fell onto that of fuming, ruby-red eyes, and the world around you came to a screeching halt. Time had ceased to exist, and the air became still. It was now quiet. Eerily quiet. Everything becomes a little hazier, a little gentler, a little warmer all at once. Before you stood a boy who, past all the anger and frustration etched onto his features, was very handsome. His eyes a reddish color that you had never really seen before, but quickly grew to admire. His nose so cutely pointed upwards, and soft cherub cheeks that were a direct juxtaposition of the rest of his body, which was large and robust. Far away, in a direction you knew not of, there was this incessant chiming. They're bells. You assume he's hearing them too, and you don't fail to notice all the irritation and tension rapidly fall from his face and body. And all that you're left with is a tenderness in his eyes, and the tiny soft curve of his lips into a smile that was so small you would have missed it if you had not been looking so intently at every part of him. It makes your heart twist and jump in a wild brazen fashion, and you quickly feel your breath leaving your body. It dawns on you that you must be noticing several things about you as well, and that doesn't fail to fill you to the brim with the warm, tingling sensation. In the corner of your eyes, you notice black ink start to crawl up your skin, settling into a simple image that sits nicely on the juncture of your right wrist and forearm. You see him looking at his own right arm, presumably left with a mark identical to your own, and that's when you fully comprehend the circumstances of the situation. Time races to catch up with you two again, and suddenly, the air around you retakes its natural chilly temperature. You. He lifts a finger in your direction, looking as stunned and bewildered as you currently felt. Wait, you're my soulmate? All too quickly, something heavy and uncomfortable settles in the pit of your stomach at his words. You realize that the precious line you'd drawn in the sand is currently being trampled all over by this boy, and you'd only just met. Your throat feels dry, and already you feel way too exposed. I can't. You just managed to croak out beneath your breath. By the confusion present in his face, you're not sure whether he had or hadn't heard you. Hurriedly standing from your seat, you find your voice once again, and it comes out much stronger this time. I can't do this right now. As you move towards him, arms outstretched to push him out, you can see his puzzlement increase tenfold. Once your hands land on his chest, he seems to regain some control of his voice. "The fuck are you trying to do right now? What the hell do you mean you can't?" Before he realizes it, you pushed him all the way back into the hallway. Taking a hold of the door, you move to begin sliding it close. You're halfway there before he reaches out and grabs a hold of the door as well, effectively preventing you from locking him out. "Boy, I didn't come all the way here to just fuck around." He raises his other hand, and in it, there's a creased little piece of paper sitting in between his fingers. Glancing from it to his face, there's a mix of emotions all fighting inside him and causing turmoil that you can very clearly see in his voice and see it in his face. But the heavy pit in his stomach prevents you from genuinely caring that you've caused such an ordeal within him in a matter of minutes. You just want him to be as far away from you as possible. Without another word, you grab the paper from his fingers and yank the door shut, locking it before he can even blink. You aren't sure whether he's left or not, but once the door closes and silence begins to fill the space again, you feel yourself beginning to fill with air, and you're grateful for it after spending the last few minutes drowning in all that he is. Your palms feel hot. There's a searing sensation in them, most likely as a result of having him under your hands. It hurts. You've never felt this susceptible to someone else's gaze or their touch, and it makes you want to run away and bring them as close as possible all at the same time. It's a dizzying dichotomy of emotions that makes you feel sick. You have a soulmate. What was once a tranquil and boring life is now being thoroughly shaken up, and in your mind's eye, you can no longer find your line, and it scares the shit out of you. Hey, Midoriya Izuku here, and I'll be running the back end of these videos for the week, and doing my best to keep Kacchan at bay. If you have any questions for us, be sure to ask and we'll answer them in the next video. We'll do our best to keep the mothership running smoothly while Freckle is away. Alright, see you soon!